Hello everyone, my name is Akal and I'm a somatic therapist. Why you should practice this technique. One is goes into you want to have a more profound experience. I did surveys of men over the last few years, and when I would ask men what it is they want from their sexual experiences, almost always the replies were more. Not necessarily more sex, well, although that was true too, it had to do with the quality of the sex, had to do with the quality of the connection, had to do with the quality of the orgasm itself. So the orgasm itself, there's basically, I did a video on this, it's on YouTube, which was about magnitudes of orgasm. So magnitudes of orgasm implies that you have a scale. And this is based on the Native American, for lack of a better description, the Native American system of Tantra, which is called Kadoshka. Now, in this system, they talk about like a level 1 orgasm is sort of like you're looking at pornography or you're with a partner you have no connection with, and it's simply bloop, bloop, it comes out. Now, a level 5, if I'm remembering correctly, is like if you look at the cover of Tantra books, particularly contemporary Western Tantra books, there's always this like mystical thing going on. There's like swirls of stars and you see like angelic beings and things like that. Well, that can happen. That's at that sort of level of 5 where the energy that rises up is so intense, it blows through your blocks, any sort of emotional blocks or, energetic blocks. And you can have these sorts of mystical experiences where you feel a sense of merger, not only with the person you're with, but with creation, with God, the universe, the infinite, whatever you want to call it. So that's one reason you want to practice this technique. Another reason you might want to practice this technique has to do with your desire to have multiple orgasms, or you simply don't want to feel depleted as much after an orgasm. That was my primary reason. Multiple orgasms kind of happen on their own accord, but in terms of the depletion, I stopped having orgasms because every time I would just feel drained. And so I decided to go on this path of abstinence. And that's something else I should mention about this particular technique. As well as all sexual energy techniques, it's helpful to practice some degree of abstinence before actually embarking on trying this technique, because the energy pressure needs to build up. So think about anywhere from 1 week to a month of abstaining. The longer, the better in this particular case. And what I mean by abstaining is abstaining from ejaculation, abstaining from release. So after you've practiced abstaining, you're going to have a higher base charge. And so what this technique does is it will drive the energy upward from your base. One of the ways you can look at it, so we'll say the raw sexual energy, which in Taoist philosophy would be called Jing. You apply awareness, concentration, attention, whatever you want to call it. And what it does is it creates heat. The application of awareness, attention, etc. creates heat, which then boils the water, which causes the steam to rise, which then activates the higher glands and some of the other glands, which then makes it possible to have these ecstatic experiences. So that's another reason you might want to do this technique, is because it will steam this water, which is like base level energy, and you'll have these more profound experiences. What basically this is doing is, the word that I think most appropriately fits this is decoupling. So something you might not know about an orgasm, a male orgasm, and if you're a woman watching this, the technique is very much the same in some ways. The outcomes can be slightly different, but the technique is very much the same. So now the decoupling of the ejaculation and the orgasm Well, the reason this can happen, meaning you can have an orgasm without an ejaculation, and you can have an ejaculation without much of an orgasm. The reason this can happen is because they are two separate nerve bundles. So what this technique does is it allows perhaps the discharge of fluid, but the energy doesn't go out. And that's what's important. I know a lot of times when you read these books, you read Mantak Chia or other Taoist people or Tantric people, they talk about this fluid as being so incredibly important. From my perspective, it's not the fluid that's important. It's the energy attached to the fluid. It's your awareness that's important. And your awareness and the energy are the same thing. And this will all make sense as I continue to describe this technique. So, that being said, you can understand that these two things are inherently separate. So the technique is this. And again, when you're practicing this technique on your own, whether you're masturbating or not, or if you're simply practicing the technique without any sort of sexual stimulation, what you're essentially doing is what's called Mahabandha, or the Great Lock. So the Great Lock begins with a root lock. So root lock is this. So when you inhale a deep breath, so let's say you inhale a deep breath, and what I generally do is I draw in my awareness through the brow point. So I inhale through the brow, draw my awareness. Again, your awareness means your attention, where you're placing your concentration, or where you have your sense of feeling, where you are feeling. So I inhale here, and I draw my awareness, my sense of feeling, down to the space below my navel. So now root lock is this. So once you have the breath retained in, you begin to contract the anus, the perineum, and then you pull inward from the tip of the penis to the base. And then the testicles lift, belt line pulls in. So it sounds like a lot going on there. Now, when it comes to the sexual experience, it'll be simplified, and I'll get to that in a bit. But again, when you're pulling root lock, you want to be kind of sequential about this. So you can even kind of reverse the order a little bit, so you don't have to start with the anus, then the perineum. You can just pull in from the tip of the penis to the base. And because all these muscles are connected, you may notice that everything kind of contracts when you pull in from the tip of the penis to the base. Now, here's the tricky part. The tip of the penis, you can think about the genitalia as having essentially three gates. You have the tip, gate 1, the base of the penis, gate 2, testicles, gate 3. So gate 1, you want to do is you want to practice contracting just the tip of the penis alone. You want to do this anytime you have an opportunity. Sitting on the toilet, you're driving your car. The more you practice this, the more it will start to integrate your nervous system. Again, think about something for 40 days. 40 days is incredibly important, and I harp on this in a lot of my other videos. The reason that 40 days is incredibly important is that's the amount of time it takes for the nervous system to take on a new pattern. So if you attempt to contract just the tip of the penis and you have no sense of feeling there, or you can't do it, just practice. Don't get discouraged. It is incredibly worthwhile. You will have, without a doubt, the most powerful orgasms of your entire life if you can figure out how to contract just the tip of your penis. And then you apply the rest of this technique during sexual experience or during masturbation or whatever. So again, review root lock. So you inhale, deep breath, draw the awareness through the brow point, down to the navel, contract either from the tip of the penis to the base, or start with the anus, lift the perineum, then contract tip, base of the penis, lift the testicles, pull in the belt line. It's that simple. Haha. So what you want to do is you want to practice this several times a day. When I first started doing this technique, I did probably root lock about 7-8 times a day, sometimes up to 20 times a day. Again, you got to work with what time you have, but you have to do it daily. And And again, what this will do is it helps to start to integrate the nervous system. Now, you may experience a lot of other things during this particular process. You may experience energy moving in your body. You may experiencing spinning sensations, all sorts of interesting stuff you may experience. So something else is when you're also pulling root lock and you're feeling these contractions, which you may also notice is you want to exhale. That's fine. Allow the exhale to naturally happen, because you can think about your pelvic floor as being another diaphragm. So let's review this once again. I'm going to keep repeating these things. So you're going to inhale through the brow point, draw the awareness down towards the navel, begin to contract the pelvic floor, anus, perineum, tip of the penis towards the base, pulling the belt line, exhaling. You want to continue to cinch root lock as you're exhaling. So you have nice firm grip on the pelvic floor. Don't do this so hard you burst blood vessels. I see people that create these faces. It's not supposed to be that intense. Think about more about precision as opposed to intensity. The harder you contract won't give you better results. You want to be precise. That'll give you better results. You want to have sensation and feeling, not intensity. So that's root lock. Now, the next step with Mahabandha is what they call diaphragm lock. So diaphragm lock is, let me go ahead and show you. So I inhale a breath, pull root lock first, exhaling, so you saw what happened there. My abdominals hollowed out. So again, what I'm doing here is after I pull that root lock, all the air goes out. I'm lifting from my belt line up under the ribs. And that causes this to hollow out. It doesn't have to be perfect. Again, everything here is really about drawing your attention, your awareness, your sense of feeling into the body. And this is what's going to make this technique powerful when you finally apply it in a sexual situation. So that is diaphragm lock. So again, me verbally walk you through it. Inhale through the brow point. Draw your awareness down to the navel. Contract anus, perineum, tip of the penis towards the base. Pull in your belt line. Air's going out, exhaling, exhaling, exhaling. Once all the air is out, you want to lift from the belt line up under the ribs, causing the hollowing out. And then finally we have another step, which is neck lock. So neck lock is simply tucking the chin. You can see what happens to my chest. So watch what happens with my chin. I tuck my chin. Chest lifts, right? So you've got root lock, diaphragm lock, neck lock. So we got those three locks. You're moving towards the Mahabandha here. And again, this is in practice. I don't suggest doing all this during sex. Because during sex, you're going to have a moment. And you don't necessarily want to disconnect from the person you're with. You don't want to create all these technical maneuvers during sex. What you want to do during sex, I'll get to in a moment. But so continuing here with the practice. So root lock, diaphragm lock, neck lock. Now, what do we do with our tongue and our eyes? Let me walk you through that. So once you have neck lock anchored, the tongue is going to go to the roof of the mouth, where it goes naturally to the roof of the mouth. Don't force it to go behind the two front teeth or rolling it back into the head. There's a lot of techniques here with the tongue. We're going to keep it simple here. You just want the tongue gently at the roof of the mouth. And then the eyes, you want to close your eyes and then roll them up like you're looking at the crown of your head. So once you do all these things, let me go ahead and walk you through it once again. Inhale through brow point, draw the awareness down towards the navel. Contract the anus, perineum, tip of the penis towards the base, lift the testicles, pull in the belt line, all the air is exhaling out. Once the air is out, lift up from the belt line, up under the ribs, neck lock, tongue at the roof of the mouth, roll the eyes up. and that is Mahabandha. Now you can do something with your hands during the practice. You can do this with the hands. You may want to set them into a mudra. Gyan mudra is generally it. So again, hands in Gyan mudra, thumb, index finger. And again, during the practice, all these things are good to do. I suggest the seal. The seal to me works really, really well. So prayer pose, Gyan mudra, whatever you want to do naturally. You could do right hand over left, thumbs touching. The mudra is less important here. So we've got all these little contractions, these little maneuvers, and that is the practice you want to do on your own. So let's say, let me give you scenario one. Scenario one is no sexual energy stimulation. You're strictly practicing this like a yoga, like a tantra technique, like a yogic technique. In that particular case, you want to, again, I'll walk you through it again. I'm going to keep repeating these things. Inhale through the brow point. Draw the awareness down below the navel. Lift the pelvic floor, anus, perineum. Contract from the tip of the penis towards the base. Lift the testicles. Belt line goes in. Lift up under the ribs. Neck lock. Tongue gently to the roof of the mouth. Eyes roll up toward the crown. And you can do a lot of these things with the breath retained or with the breath out. Now, they do two different things. With the breath retained, what you're going to do is you might open up the rib cage because it will pressurize the air upward, particularly when you're pulling that diaphragm up. However, let's not overcomplicate it. Just do it as it feels natural to you. So scenario one is just doing all that as a practice. Scenario two, you're masturbating. You got to think about this for a moment. So if you're masturbating under normal circumstances, let's say you're looking at pornography. So you're looking at pornography and you ejaculate. This is, again, just not practicing any techniques at all. Ask yourself the question, where is the energy going when you ejaculate? Out. Out, that's the answer, just out. So if you're looking at pornography, you ejaculate, everything goes out. Why? Because that's where your attention is. That's where your awareness is. And that's why this technique works. So now, how you apply this technique during masturbation. All right, let's say you're masturbating, looking at porn or not, doesn't matter. You build yourself up. You're on the brink of orgasm. You're about ready to blow it. So you're about ready to release. So what do? So you're about ready to release. So first off, I recommend is taking your eyes off the porn or whatever it is you're looking at. But then you immediately, as you're about to ejaculate, you want to pull in from the tip of the penis to the base. Then you want to inhale. Then you want to draw the diaphragm up. Roll the eyes up. Exhale. Keep contracting. Tip of the penis to the base. Lifting up the diaphragm a bit. Eyes rolled up. And then I usually hold everything for about 10 seconds. After about 10 seconds, inhale. You want to relax everything. Inhale. Exhale. So what was most important there? What's most important there that will make this technique most effective, again, is that I kept it generally fairly simple. You really want to focus on that pull inward from the tip of the penis to the base. Although fluid might come out, so you're not trying to block the flow of fluid. What you're trying to do is draw your attention into, drawing your attention to minutia. So that tip of the penis it's like almost like the furthest extent in your body where you can place your awareness. So you're bringing it all the way to the tip of the penis, which then what it does is it cuts off the outflow of energy because you're consolidating your awareness within. And that's why this technique works. Consolidating the awareness within. So the more of Mahabandha you can apply in masturbation. So again, Mahabandha, root lock, diaphragm lock, neck lock, tongue at the roof of the mouth, eyes rolled up. The more you can apply that during an ejaculation, during masturbation, the more that the next step will make sense. So Next step, you're in sex. You're having sex, sexual intercourse. So you're about ready to ejaculate once again. Again, you don't want to overcomplicate this. So I suggest 3 things. You want to nail 3 things during sex, and this will profoundly change your your experience of your own orgasm in your own body in a lot of ways. So here are the 3 things. So you're about ready to blow it. It starts to happen. You want to immediately contract from the tip of the penis to the base. So orgasm is happening. Contract from the tip of the penis to the base. Inhale. Roll the eyes up. Retain briefly. Think about 10 seconds. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. And again, it doesn't have to be overly complex. Just remember the 3 things. The tip of the penis to the base. Inhaling. Roll the eyes up. Now you can add all the other maneuvers, but it gets overly complicated at that point. What's most important here is that you're consolidating your awareness in your form, in your body, in your feeling space. And this will give you unbelievably profound orgasms once you practice it over time. So that's the technique. And those are the 3 ways you can practice the technique. So finally, a couple words of caution. Of course, there's caution. You have to exercise caution here. So what I consider necessary to understand here is that what you're doing here is a spiritual process. You're awakening Kundalini. You're awakening latent energies. What the hell does that mean? Basically, when you endeavor to connect to your body, you start to wake things up. You wake up emotions, things that were stored, patterns that were stored in your being, stored within your electromagnetic field. So these things might rise to the surface. So what's really important after you do these techniques, whether it's sex, masturbation, or you're just practicing, is that you meditate or get a nap. Why? Because all this energy that's going to be moving, you're going to move a tremendous amount of energy. Most men are used to having the energy go out. All of a sudden, you're redirecting it in and up. This is unbelievably profound, and it will throw off your equilibrium potentially. So that's why meditation or a nap is really helpful. It helps the energy settle back down. So again, you can find your equilibrium. Because every time you do this technique, you're going to be raising yourself up in terms of like a new level in some ways. Meditation is incredibly important because it allows the individual to have objectivity to what rises. So again, emotional patterns, anything that may rise to the surface, you can simply be present with it because that presence is your true nature. And I don't want to get too cryptic into meditation, but the bottom line here is you need to rest after this technique. So another word of caution, I wouldn't suggest doing this technique early in the day. Don't do it in the morning. Don't do it in the afternoon. It's a good evening technique. Late afternoon, evening, whenever you know you're going to be able to relax. So again, because it's going to stir up energy, it's going to stir up emotion potentially. So because it's going to stir these things up, you want to give yourself adequate time to rest and, again, find your equilibrium. So that's the second word of caution. That's pretty much all I think that in terms of the cautionary tales. So I'll give you a good example of why. So when I first started practicing this technique, I remember I was with my girlfriend at the time. We had sex and it was in the morning. So I felt great that morning. So there's no reason that the rest of my day would have been so like blah. So here's what happened. We decided to have sex in the morning. I did the technique. It stirred me up. And then we went for a hike. I didn't rest. I didn't meditate. During the hike, I was loopy. I was dizzy. I felt all sorts of off because I didn't allow the energies to settle and equalize. Yoga, doing a yoga practice afterwards, after you're done with like cuddling and snuggling and all that stuff, of course, do yoga, Again, do your meditation, rest. And I'm going to be, I'm beating this to death for a reason, because it needs to be done. You have to find ways to help your body settle down, help the energy settle down. So with all that said, there are many, many benefits of this technique other than your personal experience. One is you're going to retain a charge, and this will allow you to be more readily available for additional sexual experiences with your partner, with your wife, husband, whatever it is. And if you're a woman, I should say this real quick. If you're a woman and watching this video, the equivalent to the tip of the penis, and I should have said this earlier, my apologies. The equivalent to the tip of the penis would be the clitoris. You want to contract inward from the clitoris. That's basically the equivalent. Other than that, all the technique is the same. So with that being said, I appreciate you purchasing and watching this video. Thank you much.